Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a slightly delayed January Walsall Rewind with myself and, as always, my colleague Paul. January was a very, very busy month, both on and off the pitch, so we'll get straight into things. There were a lot of games to take in during the month of January, albeit with one postponed as well against Cheltenham right at the start of it. But the first day of January, we had a game for ourselves, and it was a bit of a, as we like to say, humdinger of a game. We're going to Notts County, and it proved to be everything that we thought it was going to be. A real entertaining affair that had a bit of everything in it. In a first half where the Saddlers couldn't really lay a glove on Notts County to get themselves ahead in it through Jatta, who was proving to be a real handful in the division and could have had, could have opened the scoring earlier on, but an Evan Weir wonder clearance, stopped him from doing that. And then a second half turnaround from the Saddlers with Jamil Matt and Nathan Lowe scoring the goal. So it was everything you'd wanted to start a brand new year with, wasn't it, Paul?
It was, and it feels like, you said brand new year, it feels like years ago. It just feels like such a long time ago. Such has been how long January is with everything going on in January. It was just feels like a lifetime ago. So, just trying to recall everything. But yeah, one thing I will say, I felt like Evan Weir arrived that day, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a few eyebrows were raised when the team came out and Evan Weir was starting. There was people might, I don't know if they were worried if Taylor ran and picked up a knock, but I think Matt Sadler explained that obviously been a lot of games over Christmas, so it was good to keep people fresh and give Evan his opportunity, which he'd richly deserved. And in the first half, it was, I think, first 10 minutes a bit cagey, but then once Notts County got a grip on things, they really took control, didn't they? And every time I think the Saddlers tried to apply their pressing game, tried to, find a way in behind Notts County, they couldn't breach them. And Notts County was so comfortable on the ball in their own 18-yard box. Not many teams in the division are capable of doing that, so credit to them for that, and that was a good base for them. And obviously, Dan Crowley was pulling the strings. We'll talk more about him later, won't we? So he was pulling the strings in that first half, getting on the ball. I think the first thing we have to talk about in that first half was that Evan Weir clearance that kept it 0-0 at that time, hadn't it, before their first goal. And I still to this day don't know how he did it, but having spoke to him for the programme for, I think it was the Salford game, which obviously is February, so we can't talk about that, but I spoke to him for the programme, and he was saying the night before he was watching YouTube clips. So obviously they get given all the clips at the training ground as normal from the coaches, but he was saying to me the night before games, Evan, he likes to sit and watch some YouTube clips, try and find some extra stuff, try and learn about his opposition even more. So I think that's a credit to him as well in his spare time, and he put that down to perhaps knowing what Jatta was going to do and race to that goal line, and he sort of flicked it back, didn't he? He just did everything he could, and he got good connection on it. It ended up going out, so unbelievable from Evan Weir. And then obviously Notts County deservedly got the lead, didn't they? And you were watching that game thinking these are a real good side, and then we showed why we're a good side as well in that second half. I think credit to Matt Sadler for the substitutions he made, introducing Oisin McKenty and Jamil Matt. Obviously, I think as the season's gone on, it's proven more and more why Jamil Matt is so crucial in this team, and I think he's shown it even more in this January that we're going to talk about. So he came on and really made a difference. Obviously, got himself the goal, and Oisin McKenty was an absolute machine. He'd obviously got a goal just before, ruled out for offside, we think it was. That was disappointing. But then, as that second half is going on, you're watching it thinking, my God, this is a hell of a game of football. And I was sat there thinking, I'd say this is probably I've been involved in League Two for about 7 seasons now, and it's probably one of the best League Two football matches I've watched as a spectacle and as quality. And for me, at the time, it felt like that was the two best teams in the division, and obviously unreal for the Saddlers to get the win. And what a ball from Evan Weir, rolled across that corridor into the path of Nathan Lowe, who applies the finishes as he always did. And the scenes in the away end were unbelievable. And well, we'd had some sort of statement results, hadn't we, with the likes of Wimbledon away and then Port Vale away, but that felt like another one, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. And I think there was a lot of the external media chatting to us in the press box after it, who turned around and said that felt like a game that could potentially be a League One game next season. As things stand, you talk about the two best teams in the division. As it stands, as we sit here recording, that's what it is, isn't it? First and second at that point, albeit with a bit of a shorter gap now. But that's for a later talking point about that. But it was a real good, entertaining game. Like you say, you've been involved in in and around League Two for a certain number of seasons now, and you don't walk away from many games feeling like there's such high quality at such a the fourth tier of English football. And when you put that sort of statement win out there, you think to yourself, can we then go and back it up? And obviously we had the Cheltenham game postponed, and you think, does that interrupt the momentum? And then you're live on Sky for the next game, and you're thinking to yourself, got to go and back that up against a team that have already beaten the Saddlers so far this season, the 1-0 really early on in the season. And we did just that. We put ourselves properly on the map for those people that may not pay attention to lower league football and that were watching it as the main game on Sky Sports. We scored 5 goals against Tranmere, a brace from Jamil Matt. It was accompanied by a really nice strike from Ryan Sturt, which I know we thoroughly enjoyed because we've been waiting for him to do something like that. Then Jamie Jelly scores, and we get a parting gift from Nathan Lowe as well in the in a 5-on scoreline that on the day could have been anything more than 5 for the Saddlers, and we just sort of had to settle for it at that point then.
Yeah, that's right, and it was a strange dynamic because obviously the Cheltenham game had been called off, and you're thinking, it's giving teams a chance to sort of catch up, but then we'll have a game in hand. But then the following weekend, it was absolutely Baltic, and I mean Baltic, like it was so cold, but pretty much every game in the division had been called off. But as we were on Sky Sports, Sky bought this massive dome which looked like a big bouncy castle had been erected onto the Poundland Vescott Stadium pitch. It was a sight to behold, wasn't it? When that was there for the entire week, wasn't it? And obviously, it still took some incredible work from the ground staff. So I think I'd like to give Paul, Andy, Ellis, his team, Brian Murray, everyone involved. Sorry if I've missed anyone out. A big shout out for your efforts on that day, because without your hard work and commitment, that game might not have gone ahead, and we might not have got that. Well, every 3 points is crucial. That brilliant victory as well. So credit to those guys for that terrific effort. So yeah, the game went ahead. We had about 2,000 layers on of jackets. And yeah, live on Sky, 12:30 kickoff. No other teams playing in the division, so it's like almost the game in hand came quickly for us. Got off to a great start, and Jamil Matt getting that goal nice and early. And then, as you say, we've been waiting for Ryan Sturt to hit one, and we wanted it outside the box because he's had a few crackers hit the bar, or keepers pull off worldy saves, and you're thinking, when's it going to come? And he finally got it, so really pleased for him. And Saddlers looked comfortable, but then there's a red card as well for Tranmere, and at that point you're thinking, Walsall in a really good position. But just before half time, Tranmere pulled one back, didn't they?
Yeah, Connor Jennings getting the goal.
Yeah, he's a real good operator at this level as well. So you're thinking, bit jittery there, like letting them in. But Saddlers came out second half as they started the first, and really, really professional, I think, in that second half to put Tranmere to the sword. And obviously with the Sky cameras here, I just felt like, and obviously with everything that we'll talk about what happened to Nathan Lowe after, but with all the speculation surrounding him, I'm sat there in the press box at 3-1 and thinking they'd have been desperate for Lowe to have got involved, and he's not done anything yet, so I'm not sure Sky will be too happy with that. And then he gets his assist, I'm thinking, okay, they'll probably make a big deal of that. And then he gets his goal, and then obviously it's inevitable that they're going to try and pull him for a little cheeky interview on the pitch, and obviously he handled the questions very well. But credit to Jamil Matt as well. Brace, he got the man of the match and showed exactly what he can do. But it was a really terrific day, really good day.
Yeah, it was. You mentioned Lowe there, then wanting him to get involved. We'll obviously talk about the window on the whole, because you lose him. I think it's the day after, isn't it? The evening after you lose him then, and then everyone's looking at it going, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with the loss of such an influential player? And at the end of the day, we will come on to it right at the end of the show, but you do lose him, and then you think, can we go and have such an impact in the games moving forward? And you take on a League One team next, in holders of the Virtue Trophy, albeit it was the Papa John's last year, or whatever it's
Virtue, Papa John's Leasing.com.
Yeah. Everything under the sun, but you face the holders next away, and we've seen what we can do here against League One teams already this season. We've seen what we can do away. High Flying Birmingham City, we went there, got a point off them, and then beat them on penalties. You're looking at it, you think, how do you bounce back into that? And unfortunately, it just didn't quite fall the way of ourselves on that day. 4-2 win for Peterborough, which meant that the Saddlers exited the Virtue Trophy. Gustav Lindgren scored, I think it was on his debut.
Yep.
You got a brace there, and Malik Mothersill getting 2 as well. DJ and Josh Gordon. Josh coming back for his first game. Fortuitous goal, but a goal's a goal, and it just felt like one of those days where if the Saddlers hadn't come up against such an informed goalkeeper on the day, it could have been 5-4.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you on fortuitous. I thought he earned the right to score that goal with the way he closed down the keeper, and I think he knew exactly what he was trying to do. Okay, there's probably an element of sometimes I can loop over the bar, so I guess I see what you're saying. But yeah, really pleased to have Josh Gordon back. It's timely, wasn't it, with obviously Nathan's recall, that straight away there's at least another body back on the bench, and a very good one at that. And I was buzzing to see him back, and he looked really sharp when he come on, didn't he? He had a couple of good opportunities where he tested the keeper, and his touch was good, and he got the ball out his feet well. So that was really pleasing to see, and I was really pleased he got his goal, because it's been a tough 5 months for him. It really has. And I think it's the longest injury he's had in his career, I think he said to me. So it must have been hard for him to come through that. But I think it was the start of the game that cost the Saddlers, wasn't it? Going 2-0 down quite early doors. I think first 15 minutes, was it? So gave ourselves a mountain to climb, but grew into the game, worked out Peterborough. DJ got his goal. Really good goal, actually, because I think the ball from Albert Dome was just behind him, so he's got to do really well to control it on the stretch. And you're thinking, is it just going to evade him? Has he lost time? But he does really well to manage to control it and then find the net. So it's a terrific goal from DJ. And then I think he was caught a bit off guard a bit later in the game, where I think it might have been 3-2 at that point, so they'd obviously gone and scored again straight after DJ's goal, which I think would have really frustrated Matt Sadler to concede straight after getting back into the game. But it was happening a lot in the first half, where Peterborough's defenders and goalkeeper were giving the ball back to the Saddlers, and I think DJ was not expecting the goalie to effectively passing the ball when DJ's in the box, so I think he's sort of off balance leaning back as he tries to adjust his body to get a shot off, because I think he's sort of adjusting to sort of backpedal as the ball's going to go past him, and then it ends up coming in front of him, so he's adjusted, tried to have the chance, and then obviously doesn't quite find the net, so unfortunate on that occasion. And then it went to 4-1 in the second half, and the Saddlers absolutely dominated, didn't they? Chance after chance after chance, and as that game went on, you think wasn't going to be Walsall's night, and then the substitute comes on, probably finds his way to the box too easily, doesn't he? Makes a long run, and then they eventually get the fourth, and then you think it's game over. But then Josh Gordon comes on, gets his consolation right at the end, and I think 4-1 would have been extremely harsh on the Saddlers. So to at least get that 4-2 to make the scoreline look a bit closer to a reflection on what happened in that 90 minutes.
Yeah, and then we go back into league action, back at home against not so much a new look MK Dons side, but one that was filled with a couple of surprise signings in there. I think they just signed Dan Crowley in the build up to it. They just signed Jay Williams as well from Crawley, which I think was a bit of an eye-catching one in regards to that. They paid fees for both of them. I think we were rumoured to be close to $500,000 for the pair of them together. So you're looking at it and going, they're one of the better so-called footballing sides in terms of League Two. They really dominated in terms of the amount of space that they had when we played at their place earlier on in the season. And I thought at that point it could be one of those where you've lost that one game, and it can be a little bit difficult to just get back into your rhythm. And then you have a league game for the first time without Nathan Lowe in the season, and everyone's looking at it going, where the goals coming from? The defending is where the goals are going to come from, because Big Dave gets himself on the score sheet, Liam Gordon scores, Harry Williams scores, and then Unks gets one, and the Saddlers triumph 4-2 on the day. Yeah,
that's right. And there was a bit of trepidation going into that game, wasn't there, given MK Dons' signings, but I don't think they were on particularly great form, were they? And I think where they're languishing in the table, well, at that time anyway, surprised a few people, but I thought that was that was a really strong performance from the Saddlers. We've had some excellent performances, but I think that was up there. That performance against MK Dons. I think obviously going at half time 1-1 was it, and then but that second half was absolutely fantastic. And Harry Williams getting his goal, Liam Gordon, he'd been in terrific form I think in January as well. I don't think we mentioned his bit of skill in the Tranmere game either as well. So yeah, really good form in January from Liam Gordon. And Albert Adoma, he was the one who was sort of given the role up front, wasn't he? Obviously, that was another question: who's going to sort of fill in for Nathan Lowe? Obviously, I don't think anyone had arrived in terms of transfers at that point, so it was Albert Adoma who was given the nod. I thought he was excellent that day as well. Really did a great job. Got his goal as well, and I think at that point that was only his second league start. I'm pretty sure it was. So in his 2 league starts at Harrogate and MK, he'd got a goal. So credit to him for that. And going 4-1 up as well. Really comfortable. Off the MK do pull one back. It was a good strike, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A really good strike, to be fair. Not a lot Tommy Simkin could do about it, but again, great day, great result, and really good response from the boys. I think that was the key. Response from Peterborough, response to the sort of sadness of losing a real teammate who everyone was fond of.
Yeah, definitely, and it was great to see that the 4 goals scored, and we joked about the defenders scoring the goals in that game, but great to see that the goals are continue to be shared around the side, and we talk about a real bright start in terms of league form going into January. You get the 3 wins, the 2-1 at County, the 5-1 at Tranmere, the 4-2 against MK Dons, and you go up next away from home, back-to-back away games against a side that you started with Bradford, who really started to pick up a bit of form coming into that game. Again, 12:30 kick-off live on Sky Sports Plus at that point, and it just turned out that Bradford were really on form that day, and I felt like they did to us what we've been doing to teams all season. They were constantly on the front foot. I think they stopped Ryan Stirk playing, which was a massive point for the Saddlers. Once they stopped him, they just were able to get themselves winning second balls much higher up the pitch. And there was a first half goal from Anthony Sarcevic, which was coupled with a brace from Alex Patterson. And I thought on the day that Bradford thoroughly deserved the 3 points.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about Bradford looking as a good side and how they stopped Ryan Stirk and how they've done to us what we've done to teams. That's exactly what happened. And I think we all left Valley Parade that day thinking that the scoreline, unfortunately, probably does reflect what we saw out on the pitch. And look, we went into that game on a 16-match league unbeaten run. This is League 2, 46-game season. You're going to lose football matches. It's as simple as that. And so it came at a place where there were 17,000 fans, an informed side. Graham Alexander's really got them going, and I think they've only lost 1 home league game there, so their home record's as good as ours. It's as big a fortress as the Pound and Bescott Stadium, so really difficult place to go. Obviously, there's a perfect storm as well, I think, with it. So obviously Jamie Jellis was unavailable through illness, so you lose that energy and that spark, that running, and what he brings to the table, that bit of magic, that bit of something different, that unpredictability. So you're without that, and then quite early on in the game you lose Jamil Matt through injury, and we've spoke about how crucial he is as well. And Matt Sadler's turning to his bench, and he's just got Ethan Wheatley, who only signed, well, it was announced as a signing that morning from Manchester United on loan. Obviously, I think he had 1 training session the day before, so you're thinking he's probably too early to throw him in at that point. Josh Gordon's only played, these 15 minutes at Peterborough and 15 minutes against MK Dons, so then thankfully you got another striker in DJ, so DJ came on, and so at least you got a striker who's got great goal scoring prowess. But it was a tough one for the forwards because it was Bradford who were on top. I felt like obviously Ryan Sturt was stopped, but I felt like the wing backs were stopped as well. We normally see Liam Gordon galloping down that touch line and getting to the byline. I felt like both of them were sort of forced to come inside, run into traffic, and I ended up being dispossessed. It didn't feel like we had quite a foothold or a grip on the game. Obviously, Tommy makes a good double save, I think, before Sarcevic's goal. And then I felt like it was about getting to half-time, and I felt we were doing that. But then the goal comes right on the stroke of half-time. It's a real killer to concede that second goal, and I think that's where the game was taken away from the Saddlers, and obviously Matt Sadler made some changes in the second half. It was better. You know, started to create a bit more, started to make some inroads into Bradford's half, but then obviously they get their third goal. But then we get a penalty. I think Oshie McKenzie's brought down, and at that time I think it's 68 minutes on the clock. So at that time, I was thinking if it goes in, there's probably still a bit of time here. So, but then we got a bit of deja vu because Danny Johnson missed a penalty up at Bradford 2 seasons ago. Was it? I think it was exactly the same side as well. It was quite a freakish sort of moment of deja vu, if you like. Penalty saved, and then you think at that point it's just not going to be Walsall's day, and then that's how it transpired.
Yeah, and then that happened pretty much again a couple of days later in a game where, you know, just didn't transpire to be our day again, and you know, a side that had already beaten us earlier on in the season convincingly. You know, the 6-2 in terms of you look at it and maybe that was a freak result in terms of just how it played out. I think on the day of that game, Fleetwood had 7 shots on target, scored 6 goals, and you know, there wasn't too much in this game, was there? It was just 2 set pieces which sort of separated the sides. It looked like a real tough game to play in, but Sean Rooney and James Bolton got, you know, 2 goals for Fleetwood in the space of 5 minutes, and then, you know, when you're 2-0 down after 17 minutes in a game, it becomes an incredibly uphill battle, doesn't it? Similar to the Peterborough game earlier on in the month, and it just wasn't a game where the Saddlers were able to get themselves a foothold in it, and I think we realised again just what a big miss Jamil Matt is.
Exactly that, yeah. I think it would have really suited him as well, that game as well, and but it wasn't to be on that occasion. It's the early goals are a killer, really. I think to concede 2 in 15 minutes, you're giving yourself a mountain to climb. I think Matt Sadler admitted that after the game, didn't he, when we spoke to him? But you know, I think the team did regroup, huffed and puffed a little bit, created some half chances, but I didn't feel like Walsall threatened Fleetwood's goal quite enough to do enough to get something out of the game. Again, you know, we were always going to lose games. There was always going to be setbacks along the way. It was never going to be a straight dash to the finish line, if you like. This is League Two, as I've said. It's obviously faced an informed Bradford team who have an unbelievable home record, with obviously Jamie Jellis missing as well, and obviously we've got as much out of him as we can, having just recovered from illness at the Fleetwood game. And then you run into a Fleetwood side who have still got a bit of that new manager bounce in Pete Wall going in there, haven't they? You know, I think he's starting to pick things up there. So it was always going to be a difficult game on a difficult pitch as well, it must be said. So yeah, tough night for the Saddlers, but again, just had to dust themselves down, and you know, obviously we'll talk more about what happens in February. But that's how January concluded in terms of action on the pitch.
Yeah, you know, it was a bit of a damp squib in terms of an end to the month, but you know, 13 goals scored in the month of January. Who gets your vote for goal of the month, Paul?
I'll go right back to the first day of January, mainly for the pass from Evan Weir. So I'm going to go with Nathan Lowes against Notts County. 1 for the pass from Evan Weir, 2 for the unbelievable scenes and, you know, the moment as well, because it secured such a big win in such a big game. It was like the cherry on top of the icing on the cake of such a really good game of football.
Yeah, and mine would be the Ryan Stirk one against Tranmere, just for the pure fact that we've wanted him to score a goal like that for so long. It's now your turn to vote for Goal of the Month. Goal of the Month is brought to you in association with the Turmeric Company. We've chosen 4 goals from the 13 that you can now go and vote for over on our social media pages. Elsewhere at the football club, our commercial team would like to note that we now have the last few match sponsorships remaining for our 8 home games. If you'd like to secure one of those, please drop Adam or Kira an email at commercial@walsallfc.co.uk to get that done. In the conference and events department, there's still plenty going on behind the scenes as we get ready for our upcoming evening events at the Poundland Bescott Stadium. On February the 21st, that's a Friday, I believe, we have an evening with Emilio Santoro as Elvis, which is set to be a really entertaining evening. And then on Saturday the 22nd of February, definitely might be an Oasis tribute band are back for another night here. So get in contact with them or go through our e-ticketing website to secure tickets for those. Tickets are also on sale for our Sadler's Spotlight evening, where we will highlight the superb work being done by the Academy. Paul is hosting that one, and there is a limited number of tickets for this one, so grab yours now whilst you still can. It's expected to be a really, really insightful evening, so make sure you're there for that. Tickets are also on sale for the England Women's Under-23s game against Germany, which is being held here at the Bescot on Thursday the 20th of February. And these can be purchased via our e-ticketing website. In the club shop, we still have a limited number of our newly launched retro shirts. They are still available to purchase, but can only be brought online. But these are available for collection from the club shop once they've been ordered online. That's the non-footballing stuff done. So let's turn our attentions back to footballing matters that happened off the pitch in January, Paul, with the business that was done in the transfer window. We'll start off with the outgoings because there was fewer of those compared to the incomings. We obviously saw Reyes Cleary and Nathan Lowe go back to their parent clubs. Let's start with Reyes in terms of the strikers that left us. The form of the strikers that were here probably hindered what we were able to see from Reyes, and the loan just unfortunately didn't quite work out for him, did it?
Yeah, I think it was 7 appearances, 1 goal. For Reyes, and yeah, I think it was. I don't think he did a lot wrong, Reyes Cleary, when he was out there on the pitch for the Saddlers. Like you say, it was the form. Nathan Lowe and Jamil Matt looked like an inseparable partnership, didn't they? And obviously you've got throw then DJ into the mix, Albert Adoma into the mix. Obviously Josh Gordon at the start of the season as well, and then he got his injury. But there was a lot of competition in the forward areas, wasn't there? And it just didn't quite work out for Reyes. Well, there's a lot of competition in the squad as well, and it just didn't quite work out for Reyes. Did some good performances in the trophy though. Obviously got his goal against Shrewsbury. I think he put a cross in for the goal. Was it against in the knockout game? Reading, yeah, that's right, yeah, Reading. Which forced the penalty shootout, and obviously I think he scored in the penalty shootout as well, didn't he? So, he played a particularly big part in our trophy campaign, getting us into the last 16. So, he certainly contributed, and he goes with our very best wishes. And I feel like he's got to move to Hartlepool as well on loan now. So I think it was just a case for him. He wasn't quite getting the opportunities, and I think all parties all agreed that it was best that he can go and try and find somewhere where he can play football regularly. And he's found that at Hartlepool. So we wish him all the very best, and we thank him for his efforts while he was at Walsall Football Club.
Yeah, similarly thanking the efforts of another young striker in terms of Nathan Lowe. I think it was 18 goals, 6 assists. As loan spells go, that's got to be one of the best that League Two has ever seen and may ever see for such a short period of time.
I mean, if that was across a whole season, you'd be probably saying it's close to one of the best. But the fact that that's what he scored in just 6 months is crazy. When you actually stop and think about it, it's like, blimey. He just took it by absolute storm, and what a pleasure he was to watch. Some of the goals he scored, like the Harrogate one out of nowhere, for example. Then there was like the tap-ins and the anticipated goals. Like he just had everything, and what a lovely lad as well. You wouldn't think he was. I think he turned 19 while he was here. You wouldn't think he was 19. Such a mature head on young shoulders as well, and he blew us away the first day we met him, didn't he? I think me and you looked at each other and thought, I think this kid's going to be special. He was willing to take on a number 7 shirt as well. He had options of other ones. He was confident, and what struck me about him was how he always wanted more. He scored 2 goals in a game, but he'd be more annoyed he didn't score 3 or 4. And I think that hunger and desire and determination is going to get him very, very far in the game. And I think it proved with his first game back at Stoke, he scored, didn't he? So he goes with nothing but our best wishes. We thank him for all his contributions, and I'm looking forward to watching how his career develops because I think he can go a long way in the game.
Yeah, definitely. I was just about to say he's certainly a striker that you tend to keep an eye on those that leave and see how they're doing. But with the potential that Lowy's got, he's certainly somebody that we'll be keeping an eye on. And I know, when you look at scores across the divisions, Stoke's one of the ones that I'll look for now just to see how he's getting on. But in terms of the incomings, it was a bit of a busy January for us. We saw the arrivals of Nathan Asimwe, Alicia Ahui, Ethan Wheatley, Levi Amanchi, Alfie Chang, Darius Lipschuk, and then Ellis Harrison. 3 of them coming on deadline day. 6 of those signings are for the here and now this season. Alicia won't be joining us until some point in next season. What was your overall thoughts on the window and the business that was done?
Felt like a proper January window, didn't it? And I think I texted you after deadline day about 12 at night saying that was a proper deadline day. Yeah, really exciting to be involved in, wasn't it? I think Saddlers did very good business. So let's go chronologically. Obviously, Nathan Asimwe, I thought cover up at wing back, I felt was probably needed because I feel like Evan Weir maybe initially might have been seen as the left wing back cover, but I think he's now the left centre back cover. So I feel like he's really strong there. Obviously, Albert Adoma, we thought he was the right wing back cover. But obviously, we've seen him a lot up top as well. So I think Asimwe being able to play in those roles, I think he'll be a useful addition. Look forward to seeing more of him. Obviously, Alicia, we watched him in the cup final, didn't we? Out in Ireland at the Aviva Stadium, and he was man of the match. So, spoke to Evan Weir as well, and he's really waxing lyrical about him. Really looking forward to him coming and saying how he drives forward, and he's a good defender as well and a real talent. So I think we look forward to seeing him next year. And then obviously with the 2 departures being strikers, Lowy and Reyes Cleary, we needed some bodies up front. So obviously exciting to see Ethan arrive from Manchester United. When I first they had that cameo at Bradford, I don't know why, he just reminded me a bit of Mo Fowl. In terms of that sort of profile, and he's tall as well, and he's certainly got a bit about him. Likes to work hard, likes to press and charge down defenders. So I've seen the couple of games, didn't quite get the chances. Tough games for him as well to come into, it must be said. So that one may take a bit of time, but I reckon there's certainly a player in there in Ethan Wheatley. So, and obviously, if you're on Manchester United's books, you've obviously got a lot of talent. And then I think Levi was the next one, wasn't he? And for me, he looks a similar profile to Jamil Matt. And I think, on this real one, we spoke so many times about how crucial Jamil Matt is. So to get someone who can perhaps maybe do the Jamil Matt role as well, I think was vitally important. I think his debut came in February eventually, Levi, so I won't talk too much about him, but I think you can see what he's going to bring to the team, don't you? Going to be that aerial threat, going to be physical, going to ruffle a few feathers. And then on a permanent deal as well, so really excited by that one. And deadline day. I think with the injuries to George Hoare and Jack Earing, the midfielders were needed, weren't they? So I think that was another hole plugged. So good bit of business in Alfie Chang from Birmingham City. Again, it's relationships. Stoke as well with Darius. Matt Sadler's formed some excellent relationships with local clubs, and I think there's a reason why they keep sending players back to Walsall. You feel like there's a lot of players we wouldn't get if we hadn't built those relationships, if we hadn't looked after players the way we have done. So credit goes to Matt Sadler and all the staff for that. So look forward to seeing Darius and Alfie. I think Alfie, probably feels like his career's gone in on a similar path to George Hoare. So, if he's as talented as George Hoare, then we've got a hell of a player on our hands, and Darius as well. Another Irish lad to the mix, which so he'll slot in beautifully, I'm sure. And then obviously Ellis Harrison, the late show. Let's talk a bit about that deadline day. So obviously we'd announced Darius and Alfie by, I think it was by 4 o'clock, wasn't it? And at 5 o'clock we sort of sent home thinking nothing looks quite likely at the minute. And then we're told, still working on something. And then about 7:30, I think it's nothing looks likely. So I went and played 6-a-side at that point. That for me was like, right, okay, I can go play my football. And then I remember coming off the pitch, picking up my phone, and then another message in the group chat saying, all potentially still working on something again. So it was a bit of a crazy back and forth, and then I'm just about to get into the shower after football, and then my phone rings, and then I get told about 10:15 at night, Ellis Harrison's on his way. So then it's about you and I, and obviously Sam as well, trying to come up with a teaser, getting the press release. You spoke to Matt Sadler to get some quotes about him. We tried to get Ellis's number, and then we're waiting for the approval, and then finally at midnight, we wrap up our deadline day by announcing Ellis.
Yeah, if you want to check out the behind the scenes of what happens as a media department for ourselves on a deadline day, go over to our official TikTok page. It runs you through, everything that Paul's pretty much, gone through there, finding out the evening before that Alfie and Darius are coming in, so we get ourselves at the training ground early, and then it's that on-off thing. It's almost as on-off as the light show at Fleetwood Town, just in terms of that one. But it had everything that as a media personnel, you in terms of club media, you probably want in a deadline day. I'm not sure that those behind the scenes in terms of Ben and Nick and everybody else that works in it, we've got to say, like, they were unbelievable, as they always are throughout January in the off season when they're working on things like that. Fantastic. And even we don't see the extra hours that go in behind that. They're constantly working on stuff, but massive kudos to them to getting out all of that sort of stuff done. But if you want to see how it works out for us, go over to our official TikTok page. If you also want to see an update on the January window and everything that was sort of discussed in that, go over to Sadler's Plus. Co-chairman Ben Boycott and chief exec Ben Sadler caught up with Paul. It's about half hour catch up, and it's really insightful. So I'd encourage everybody to go over and check that out. Thank you very much for joining us on January's Walsall Rewind. We'll be back in February to talk about everything that goes on. There's plenty to catch up there, a couple of games in hand to do so. So like I say, thank you very much for joining us. Let us know what your goal of the month is down in the comment section and how you would rate our January transfer window.